Okay, let's dive into something that could be uh, genuinely life-changing for some people.
Yep.
We're talking about securing an E-2 visa, the one that lets you direct your own business, right here in the U.S.
Yeah, it's a really popular path, especially for investors from treaty countries. A lot of interest there.
Definitely. So today, we want to kind of cut through the noise, break down the process, what the key requirements really are, and maybe most importantly, how you find the right kind of support.
Absolutely. And the E-2, it's technically a non-immigrant visa, but it's specifically designed for you to come over and operate, develop a business you've invested in.
And the potential upside is pretty significant, right? It can often be renewed, meaning you could stay long-term, provided the business keeps doing well and follows the rules.
Exactly. As long as the enterprise thrives, renewal is definitely possible.
So if you're listening and thinking, okay, maybe this is for me, where do you even start? It seems daunting.
Well, the absolute first thing, before you do anything else really, is talk to an immigration professional.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Get that initial check.
Yes. They'll help you figure out if the E-2 is genuinely the best route for what you want to achieve, your specific situation.
Makes total sense. Don't jump ahead. So
Yeah.
once you get the green light, conceptually, that the E-2 looks right,
Yeah.
then the real work begins.
Then the real work starts, yeah.
Right.
Setting up your U.S. business entity, usually that's going to be an LLC, a limited liability company, or maybe a corporation. Pretty standard structures here.
Standard legal stuff.
Right. And pretty much immediately after forming that company, you need that EIN.
The employer identification number.
From the IRS, yep. Think of it like your company's social security number, basically.
And you need that EIN for more than just paperwork, I assume.
Oh, absolutely. It's essential because you need it to open a dedicated business bank account, and this is key. It cannot be your personal account. It has to be solely for the business funds.
Got it. So, structured the company, got the EIN, open a separate business bank account. Now the big one, the investment itself.
Exactly. You transfer your investment funds into that new business account. And here's where it gets, well, strategically crucial. One of the core legal requirements is that your money must be, and this is the term they use, at risk.
At risk.
And the best way, really the only convincing way to show this, isn't just letting the money sit there. It's by actually spending a good chunk of those funds on legitimate business expenses before your visa is even approved.
Well, hang on. Spend.
Yeah.
Spend potentially a lot of money before you even know if the visa is coming through. That sounds incredibly risky. I mean, what if the application gets denied?
It's a totally understandable reaction. And honestly, that is the risk the regulation demands you take. It feels counterintuitive, I know, but if those funds aren't demonstrably committed, spent on things like signing a lease, buying essential equipment, maybe initial inventory, startup marketing.
Or tied up in escrow for buying an existing business.
Exactly. Committed to a purchase price via escrow works too. If you haven't done that, your application is very likely going to fail on that fundamental at-risk test.
Right.
It's a required leap of faith baked into the visa rules.
Okay, wow. So the funds need to be actively used, making the business operational, or very close to it. What kind of proof do they need for all this?
You'll need to give your attorney or consultant a whole stack of evidence. Proof of the company formation, the wire transfer confirmations into the business account, all the receipts, the contracts showing how that money was spent, and crucially, documents tracing the lawful source of those funds.
Right, showing it wasn't laundered money or something.
Precisely. It needs to be verifiable savings, maybe selling property, a genuine gift, but not, say, an unsecured loan made to look like an investment. And you also need a really solid, detailed business plan, usually projecting out 5 years, showing the business isn't what they call marginal.
And marginal doesn't just mean small, does it? It's
Yeah.
more specific than that.
That's a great point. The investment itself needs to be substantial enough to realistically get the business off the ground and make it viable. And the business can't be marginal, meaning it can't exist only to provide a minimal living just for you and your family.
It needs to have broader potential.
Right. Potential to contribute more significantly to the U.S. economy. Often, that implies it should have the capacity to hire U.S. workers down the line. Now, there's no official, hard minimum dollar amount written in the law for substantial.
But there's a practical reality.
There is, based on, years of cases and seeing what gets approved. A common benchmark immigration pros often suggest aiming for is around $100,000 or maybe more. Lower amounts, well, they just carry a much higher risk of being seen as not substantial enough, or potentially marginal. It really depends on the type of business, too.
Got it. So substantial, at-risk, lawful source, non-marginal. Those are the big killers for the investment and the business.
Okay.
What about your own background? Do you need to be an expert in that specific field?
Interestingly, no, not necessarily direct hands-on experience in the exact type of business. Like, you don't need to have been a chef to invest in a restaurant. However, having general business management skills, maybe some entrepreneurial experience that shows you're capable of directing and developing the enterprise, that's definitely a plus, a big plus.
Okay, pulling all this together.
Yeah.
Structuring the company, proving the investment details, the source of funds, the business plan, showing your ability to run it. It sounds like a lot of moving parts.
It is. Which brings us back to getting the right help.
Yeah, finding the right support seems absolutely critical here.
It might be the most critical piece, honestly. You really need advisors who specialize in E-2 visas. It's a niche. And frankly, we often see better, more personalized results with smaller boutique consulting agencies rather than, say, huge law firms or consultants who seem overly aggressive.
You want focus.
You want focus, dedicated experience. Look for people with, say, 5, 7, maybe more years working specifically on E-2 cases, seasoned experts. And it's not just about ticking the boxes for the visa application itself.
It's about setting up your life here, too.
Yeah, exactly. A really valuable consultant offers that personalized attention. They understand the nuances of actually establishing a balanced life in the U.S., especially if you have a family, young kids maybe. Finding advisors who perhaps grew up here, who genuinely understand the American context, that can provide priceless insight for families navigating schools, communities, just life here.
That personal fit and deep specialized knowledge seems way more important than just comparing fees.
Absolutely. The long-term value is immense.
So, wrapping this up, what's the core takeaway? It seems navigating the E-2 visa means, first, really understanding all the steps.
From the legal setup and banking.
To that crucial, almost counterintuitive requirement of putting your investment genuinely at risk by spending funds before you get the okay.
Yep. And meeting those key tests. Substantial investment, lawful source, and a business plan showing real potential, not just marginal survival.
And central to managing all that complexity is getting that specialized, experienced help. Ideally from consultants who give you personal attention and, maybe just as importantly, understand the bigger picture of setting up your life and family in the U.S.
That sums it up well. It's a challenging process, but definitely navigable with the right strategy and support.
So maybe the final thought for you listening, connecting this to the bigger picture. Success with the E-2 isn't just about that moment the visa stamp goes in your passport.
Which leads to, I think, a really important question to ask yourself. Beyond just getting the visa approved, how will you actively ensure that your investment creates not just a thriving business, but also the kind of rich, fulfilling life you're actually envisioning for yourself and for your family here in the United States?